It wasn't undisturbed birth for me with the second one because of this war situation. We had explosions every single day. Air raid attacks, sirens were started, then stopped. I didn't actually calculate the due date of my second. It was a wild pregnancy. I knew, I don't know how, but I knew that this time I will give birth alone.
Hi, women. Before we dive in today, I need to name something important. This episode, along with all episodes that you will hear until our winter break in mid-December, was recorded before my birth, prior to mid-August. Since then, our family has walked through the unimaginable. Our son was stillborn, and we are in deep mourning. As these shows air, you'll hear and see me pregnant, which now feels incredibly painful and weird, given that you are holding the sacred knowledge of what came after. So please forgive the dissonance. These stories still deserve to be shared and heard. We welcome your prayers, your loving thoughts, and your support as we navigate this spiral of such deep grief. I hope you find resonance and nourishment in this conversation today. Thank you. Welcome to Freebirth Society. I'm Emily Saldea, and this is where we break the spell of medicalized birth, remember what's been forgotten, and rise together into our birthright to live, birth, and mother as sovereign women. All right. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi, Emily.
So I'm excited to hear your story today. I know it's a big story. You know, all I really know is what you shared in one of our MMI classes, that you gave birth to your second child when there were bombs dropping in your country, in Ukraine. I mean, wow. So that obviously just caught my attention, and I just wanted to give you all the space to walk us through what happened and how it was. And, you know, I think there was a midwife involved in the beginning, and then she left. So you were really faced with free birth. That's kind of all I remember. And so, yeah, I'm just excited for you to have, you know, this full hour to really flesh out your story as you want, as you can. But let's start with your first child and as you became a mother. What do you want to share about your first birth?
It was my intention there to give birth at home, but it also surprised me, this decision I made, because back then I worked at the big companies and supported insurance issues with employees. So I knew that hospital is the only way, and I knew the better ones or worst, and so on. And then I quit from my job at some point, and I guess 5 years later, I gave birth to my first. And being on the 30 or 28 weeks pregnant, I first time visited Red Tent gathering of women, and the doula who organized this Red Tent, she shared information about homebirth and about Sister Morning Star's approach of wild pregnancy, of wild birth, wild women. And I was there is another option. And I made it. So, and when I asked myself, how can I prepare to this? The answer was to find somebody, to find home midwife. And in Ukraine, we actually don't have this profession as licensed midwives or something. It is actually illegal to give medical support at home by medical professionals, including midwives. So they cannot support birth at home. And I knew it would be hard to find somebody. But this doula from our first Red Tent, she said that she know the midwife in Ukraine who also visited City Morning Stars classes. And as she said, it would be the only option. I will give somebody permission to attend my birth. And I just meet this midwife, and I liked her. But I was confused because I was in this, medical system paradigm, and I asked her, what should I prepare? The list of something to be on hand at the birth. And she said, did you pack some bags for hospital or something? I said, no. I don't feel that I should do. And she answered, oh, so you're ready for home birth. It's okay. I see that you totally ready and you understand what will go on, and the hospital is not even an option to you. You don't prepare for it. And I started to give birth at midnight. I remember my friend asked it on Facebook. It was a question, what kind of present do you want to receive on the 8th of March? So on the Women's Day. And I said, I want to feel the start of the labor. And 2 minutes before midnight, this day, my contractions started. And as I had any kind of sensation during my pregnancy, I guessed that maybe it's training contractions, something like that. And I went back to sleep, and I slept for 3 hours more. And then I realized that no, it's actually it's birth, because I started to go to toilet, to this eliminations, on and on and on. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I guess, I called to midwife, and she said, I asked actually my husband to call her, and she wanted to hear me and to understand where I am in my labor. And as I answered her, she said, oh, we have time. Okay, I'll come to you. And I guess 2 or 3 hours later, she came, and she offered me to evaluate the case of cervix opening, to check me. And I rejected. Said, okay, no problem. And all this time, I was sitting on my bed and was leaning on football and just waiting. And she asked me if I have this experience for the whole time I'm in labor, and said, yeah, it's so. And she offered me to lay down and to rest. And after I lay down, I felt that my sensations going bigger and more intense. And I was, actually, yeah, rest is helps. It's so helpful to me. And then she checked me. I don't remember the whole story. It was 6 years ago. So probably I accepted this. And I remember at 10 o'clock, she said to my husband that we have maybe 8 or 9 hours more till the emerge of our baby. But he came to us 2 hours later, and I was laying, I don't know, on my this side on my side, and I just experienced this contractions. I was totally inward, and at some point she came to the room. She for almost all the time she left the room, and I was totally in my nest. I built in my room this red tent. We just made this red clothes to the walls, and I really felt like being in the tent. And I was alone most of the time. And then she came and she said, "Oh, you have the push-up stage. It's not the contractions anymore." I was so surprised because I didn't feel the difference between any sensations. And I felt the urge to sit down. She had this special birth chair. It's not even the hole. It was like this shape chair. And I tried to situate myself on this chair, but it wasn't comfortable. And I asked to is it okay to just stand on my knees. She said, for sure, you may do whatever you want. But she was afraid about the duration of the pushing state with no actually luck, because the baby wasn't, he was inside of me actually for 2 hours. Yeah. And she proposed me to touch the the head of the baby. And I remember this feeling. I was so surprised by this purpose because I said, oh no, it's impossible. I can't reach there for a few months now. And I can just reach to my yoni to touch his head. And she said, okay. But she said, just try it. And I realized that actually I feel his head, and I was sure that I was confused during being inward, and I he had some hair over his head, and I touched this hair, and I said, realizing, oh, how strange, his course is going from his head, not from the belly, but it was my mistake. I just felt his hair there, and then she was afraid about duration of the pushing stage, and she offered me to make a little dose of pitocin. And yeah, and now I'm surprised, and then I was actually surprised, and I rejected. But later she made me the quarter of the whole dose. And I felt actually after that, I felt that I have no contractions anymore. It was so strange because I know the stories where women said that it's intensify their contraction.
Wait, what did she do? So she offered you pitocin when you were
Yeah.
pushing,
Yeah.
and you said no.
And I said no for a few times, but then she said, we can't go to the hospital. It's not an option. And yeah, as I understand now, I was in panic.
And then she did give you the pit?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Like she shot it?
Yeah. In my hips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And everything stops at that point. And she was like, oh boy, what's going on? But a few minutes after, I was like, what's going on? What's wrong? Why nothing happening? It's already stopped. And at that point, I was afraid also. I remember this thought came into my mind that, oh boy, I am becoming a mother forever. And this was so scary thought. Yeah. I knew that I will have a child, but full realization of this point, I felt only that moment. Oh boy, it's forever. And later, contractions began over and over again. And after 2 or 3 pushing, he came. And I lay down. I started to breastfeed him. He latched. And I guess a half an hour later, she said that we have to born placenta. And she gave me the rest of the small dose, a bit of pitocin again. And placenta just fell from,
It came out?
came out from my body. And the birth was complete. It was with the first one.
And then when you get pregnant again, how many years have gone by?
My elder was 2.5, almost 2.5. Yeah.
And so do you hire the same midwife?
I texted her, but at that point, I knew, I don't know how, but I knew that this time I will give birth alone.
Oh, I thought you hired a midwife.
No,
Okay.
no. I texted her and she said, okay, I'll be there if you want, then no problem. But I knew that maybe she will late, maybe she will be somewhere else at the other town, or something will happen that I will have to birth by myself. So I think I have this feeling intuition feeling of scenario of my next birth. And she said that she will be on call, whatever I want to call her. But I don't have this. I don't know. I didn't actually calculate the due date of my second because it was a wild pregnancy. With my first, I did all these checks with OBGYN in private clinic. And I remember she asked me where I plan to give birth. And I said at home. I was like, why? Just, it will be safer for me. And she said, maybe somebody will support you. Maybe you hired a midwife. And I said, yes. And she was curious about who will be this midwife. And I gave her a name, and she was she was terrified by this because, oh, this is the
Wait,
only
who are you talking about? Now you're talking about the OBGYN?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. And she said, oh, no, not this midwife. Whoever you want to hire, but not her, please don't. And I asked, yeah, she expected me to ask it why. And I said, yes, okay, it's it's your point of view. Okay, but I will be there with her, with this midwife.
So what happens for you after the birth of your son to 2.5 years later when you know that you will have a wild pregnancy and you will birth alone? Where does this awakening come from?
I don't know. I just knew it. I kept my education on natural birth, and I don't remember this like awakening point, you know. And then, oh, okay. I just prepared myself to home birth, and I understood that I should be prepared to do it by myself with my husband only and our elder son.
Had you heard about other women doing that yet?
No. Actually, no. But I knew that I'm capable. I don't know how, but I knew that I'm capable to do it.
So what was it about your first birth that you didn't want to repeat?
At that point, no, I didn't have this. See, maybe it was the feeling that I don't want somebody to be here at my home while I'm giving birth. I don't know. Really, for real, I don't know why. I didn't feel comfortable with midwife. Actually, I felt at the point she came to me, I felt relief that, oh, okay, now I'm ready. I'm totally ready. You know, this was like this. But 2 years later, I understood that I don't need this support anymore. I'm really capable to do it by myself. I know how. I have experience to give birth, and so I know it. Yes. And maybe next time it will be easier and more understandable for me. And I wanted to have more experience to feel my power. What can I do without any help?
And how old is that baby now?
He's 3.
Okay.
I have 2 boys, 6 and 3 years old.
Okay. So 3 years ago, or more than that, you're pregnant. You decide to just do it alone. So tell us that story.
And I started to prepare with the first one. I knew that I don't want a water birth. But with the second one, I knew that I want to have this pool. I ordered it. It was the whole story of this point. And I prepared myself by watching the classes, reading the books. I read the City Morning Stars. Actually, it was the point when at first birth, I didn't know that somebody giving birth freely. But for the second one, I realized it from the City Morning Stars book, with the power of women. And at that point, we started to text with her, and she supported me in many ways during my postpartum and during this month before the birth. I remember that I made other order on her side, and I made this comment to my order that I hope that I will have opportunity to hug her someday. And she answered with the questions about how far am I from the line where actually it was war for 8 years, in Ukraine. But I was in the capital, and it was about 400 kilometers away from us. And she asked if I'm ready to move somewhere if it will be needed. And I was so sure that the war will never happen in such a massive way. And I said, no, for the whole years, then we're pretty far away from this. We have no reason to leave our home. But later, we did it. And so I realized that there are women who capable to go through free birth. I didn't know this term. I started to listen to your podcast, I guess, the year after I gave birth, or maybe 18 months or so.
To which kid?
After the second one. So
Gotcha.
I first free birth and then find you, and I realized that, these women is actually two women I want to learn something from. I don't know actually what actually I wanted to know from you, but maybe this feeling just being in the mood of non-hospital paradigm and seeing natural approach to the birth and all life processes.
So go back to your pregnancy. Tell us a little bit about when the war starts, just how that experience is for you.
It was strange. I was on 32 or 33 weeks of pregnancy. I already I paused all my business. I shared with my women's circle information that we will not gather anymore before the birth. And we actually prepared my postpartum, as I had this experience of circle support by bringing food, making dishes, making a lot of actually support to me. And we established this plan to postpartum support for me. And I was in relaxing mode because I just grew in my nest and planning with my husband what he will do with our son while I'm giving birth. We shared these expectations with the son. We said to him that Mama will give birth to a brother right here at home, and all the sounds he may make and all the stuff, how it can be. And we just were in, relaxed waiting mode. And one morning at the 22nd of February 2022, we woke up with the sound of explosions. And as we lived at the 5th floor, I asked my husband, maybe is a car accident, right, the next street. And he said, no, it's much louder. Something happened. But I remember his joke. You don't think that it's the beginning of the war? And I said, oh, for sure. And then the next explosion. And then for first time, we experienced the signal sirens of air raid. And we was like, how is it possible? No, it's totally impossible.
Are you one of the many women out there addicted to this podcast, wondering how on earth you can bring the good word of free birth to the women of your life and community? Well, I've got something for you. It's called the Matribirth Mentor Institute, and we are enrolling now. This is the best of everything Yolanda and I have to offer. It's a 10-month high-touch mentorship program to bring you from the sidelines into the arena of the birth liberation movement. Yes, you can make a business out of this. Yes, women everywhere want this. And yes, you are allowed to explore this. In fact, if you feel the call to serve women in this way, that is your permission. So join us. This is an international training ground for women who are remembering what birth truly is and reclaiming what it means to serve with honor, clarity, devotion, all wrapped up in a container of deep self-work and business training. The curriculum is immersive and transformational, divided into 4 distinct quarters. First, we spend 11 weeks cultivating the tools of self-mastery, because you can only walk with women as deeply as you've walked with yourself. Then we move into 11 weeks of sovereign birth work training. We share all that we know to get you foundationally ready to stand in this work with a massive knowledge base. Next, we teach you how to teach, offering coaching frameworks, childbirth education models, with examples of how we do it every step of the way. And finally, we bring it all together in a full birth business school, from your first nitty-gritty steps to launching a sustainable, aligned, purpose-driven practice. This is a proven, powerful, high-touch mentorship program. The women who are graduating are radically transformed. They're clear in their mission, rooted in their value, and making money by serving women from a place of authenticity. They're teaching sovereign childbirth classes, attending births outside the system, leading circles, and changing the cultural conversation. One woman, one family at a time. Match-A-Birth Mentor Institute is where independent birth coaching and education meets next-level business mentorship meets life-changing consciousness work. We only run this program once a year, so if you're feeling the pull, now's your time. A sovereign birth work career awaits you, and we're here to walk with you every step of the way. Check out www.matchforbirthmentorinstitute.com or freebirthsociety.com/MMI to learn more.
But explosions go and go and on again and again and again. And the company from my husband's work, they proposed to make this group travel just to leave Ukraine within hour or so. And it was 6 or 5 in the morning, and we were totally not prepared for this sleep. And we decided to, like in labor, and just to wait and watch what was going on. Maybe it's just accidentally, and maybe it's one time in lifetime. But it wasn't. And later in this evening, this day in the evening, we decided to pack our stuff and to leave 300 kilometers away to his parents' house, because attack was going on. Yeah. And it stops in the night, and the next morning we had these explosions again, and it begins intensifying and closer to us. So we packed everything we felt important, documents, my books. It was my point to feel safe, and some clothes for us and for kids, because we were completely sure that it will last a week maybe or 2, but it lasts 3 years plus for now. And I remember we also packed my husband's tablet, because he's 2D artist. He just painting on his tablet, and it's huge. And his computer and monitors and all this stuff. And our car was full with all our stuff. And we have the kids' chair there. And I remember the last one, we packed in my birthing pool, because it was flexible, and we just situate them between our stuff just to take it with us. Yeah. And the trip that usually takes about 3 hours due to traffic and all the people live in the country, it took us almost 18 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was actually shortcut. we
what?
made it, and including all shortcuts we made during it might be much longer. And I remember my son was asleep. We came at 2 a.m. at my husband's parents' house. And at that time, it was restrictions. It was actually restrictions at the streets after midnight. And I remember my husband left the car just to open the gate and to go to the yard. But I realized that I feel on me some lights, and I'm pregnant. I'm keeping my elder on my hands asleep, and I have these flashlights in my face. And police asked, "What are you doing here? Who are you? Do you have some weapon with you?" And I was like, "Weapon? No, we just came. We just trying to find a safer place. We came from the capital and from Kiev." And then he realized that I'm pregnant and all the situation, and he apologized and left. And my husband came back, and what happened? What are you so scared? He didn't notice this interaction because he was all with the stuff of preparing place to our car, and it was terrifying. And then we had this whole new life experience, And it wasn't undisturbed birth for me with the second one because of this war situation, because we had explosions every single day. And air raid attack sirens were started, then stopped. And sometimes it was only half an hour between it. And I remember a sister, Moni Stark, texted me. She said, "It's so good you are at nature now. You can go out and just feel the grass under your feet." And I said, "I can't." I was unable to go out from the house. And all my thoughts was about, I can protect my older son. Can I give birth to someone I can protect? And it was a situation of shock, of grief, I desperately wanted to go back home. But I realized that it's impossible. Day by day, I realized that now I know why I had this feeling to give birth alone. And I understood that I was ready to give birth alone, but I didn't ready to give birth during the war. And little by little, I just said to myself that, okay, you didn't know about it, but your baby knew it. He knew where to come and how to come to your life. So you're just a carrier here. You just to carry him from one point to another point. And if he is so brave, you may also be the same as his mom. And I did everything as I knew to make myself feeling safe and supported and held by other women, by God, by nature, by everything surrounded me, my husband's family. And I read my books. I remember when my contraction started, I was listening the class of Jean Hardy Collins on the wisdom of the circle and about the women's seasons, life seasons, and on blood mysteries and women mysteries. And I made some notes, and I thought, oh, something happening. Maybe, maybe it's starting. But no, I will, I will continue to make my notes. And I remember this paper with the notes when I was at the beginning of the labor. It was straight letters, everything nice and cute. And then I feel contraction and the letters are going down. And okay, let it just take it aside. And then the next one, and I'm listening. And a few hours later, I said to my husband, you better feel the pull. You better find the way. And he was so excited that he forgot to chop the pool, and all the water goes through the pool down to the floor, and we have this pool. The room became the pool, actually, at some point, yeah. And then we realized what's going on, and I came to the pool, and he arranged all the stuff with the excessive water. And he made these nice cards with expressions about labor. It was flowers. It was something like, your womb is beautiful, your birth is perfect, and so on. And he just clipped it all over the walls, and the pool was under the lamp. And when I lean back at the pool and see almost on the lamp this card, it was so nice, so sweet. And I remember myself laughing on this card and feel that the baby is coming out much faster as I'm laughing. And I feel this, like, unexpected mercy, that for almost 30 hours, it was first time from the beginning of the war that there was none siren, none attack, none explosion. It was totally peaceful, totally silent. And I remember at some point I was just scared about. Now I realize that it was maybe adrenaline effect on me, because it was a few minutes prior to our baby came. And I was like, oh, you should call to midwife. Oh, no, don't call her. Call to my friend, to doula, and tell her that my baby is coming with my uterus totally closed, and he will take away the uterus with him. I was in this stage. He's coming with my uterus. The cervix is closed, totally closed, and he will come just with the whole womb. And I remember he just calling to my friend, and she didn't pick up the phone. And the next time she called back, and he said, oh, everything okay, the baby's here. And she said, oh, okay, I understood. And I was like, how it's possible? I knew it, that he's coming with the uterus, but it was only him. It was only him, and he's this natural cord, this two times around his neck, and my husband just took him and all this cord and give the baby to me, and I came out of the pool to the bed, and I tried him to to breastfeed, but he didn't latch in. He was so asleep. He was so calm. He didn't cry. He was like, "Oh, okay, you're here. Okay, I will go to sleep." And I remember my husband's mother for 9 or so days, he asked us, "Why is he not crying at all? Is he okay?" And we said, "Yeah, it's okay. It's okay for babies to not cry every time. It's totally okay." And it was so surprising. And then maybe 13 minutes after he was born, I asked my husband to bring the bowl, and I felt like I have this feeling that something growing inside of me, and I want to push it away. And I just dispose of the goddess who gave in birth, how she's squat down. Yeah, I wanted to squat down above the bowl. And I heard something splashing. And I was so sure that it was placenta, and just goes out to the bowl. And I remember I noticed the really long cord, bigger than meter length. It was pretty long. And I just squatted, heard the splash, and okay, I'm done with placenta. And then I realized that the cord is still attached to me. So it's not a placenta in the bowl. It was a pretty big portion of the blood.
Like a clot?
No, it wasn't blood. It was liquid.
Gotcha.
No. And I asked my husband to send this message to the chat of the midwives, home midwives. It was international chat, and asked to evaluate the blood loss. Is it okay? And the answer was, it's okay, but it's time to stop it. The bleeding. It's enough. And I realized that I have to give birth the placenta, but I felt fading. I felt so weak at that point that I'm almost lost my conscious. And I didn't want to lay down because I understood that I will have no capacity to open my eyes anymore. And I felt that I want to fall asleep. And just to stay awake, I stayed sitting, and I tried to burn placenta once again, but no luck. And I kept bleeding, and I realized that it's too much for me. I don't know if it's too much for every woman, but it was too much for me. And baby was asleep, and I tried to wake him to latch to just help me with the birthing of placenta, but he was totally unengaged in this process, and he was just sleeping peacefully right on me. And when I tried, I just put him next to me, and he was born almost at 6 p.m. and it was 8 p.m. as I remember. I tried to birth my placenta, and I realized that I'm unable to one more try. I'm too weak. And one midwife from the chat reached to my husband and offered to help me. She said, as I see, she's okay, placenta detached, and all we need is just pull it from her uterus. And my husband just washed his hands, and he tried to pull placenta with the cord, but the cord was torn, and he has, we got a problem here, because the cord was in his hands, but placenta still in me. But he tried again. I guide him from my side because he didn't know what he is touching, my cervix, my vagina, or its placenta. And when he took this placenta, he just pulled it from my uterus, and I felt so big relief that, oh, finally. And it was almost 9:30 p.m. Yeah. So it took 3+ hours to give birth to placenta, and I was bleeding during all this period.
And then did the bleeding stop when the placenta was born?
Yeah, not like switching on off, yeah, but it's becoming less and less and less, and it stopped. And I remember this feeling of weakness, and I wasn't sure, am I able to go asleep, because I was so not sure that I will be unconscious. And I remember I ate some food, sweet food, warm porridges, and yeah, it was some drinks with nettles and lemon, and yeah, and the next day I had migraine for almost the first time in my life, and I know that it's maybe because of this excessive bleeding, because there was not enough fluids in my body. And then it was the beginning of the next story of my motherhood. I breastfeeded my elder until he decided not to latch anymore. And actually, it was in the beginning of my second pregnancy. But with the second one, I had no milk, and I was unable to start breastfeeding. For the first 3 days, it was enough for him to eat colostrum. But then, he started to lose his weight, and I asked all breastfeeding consultants for some advices, for some support. And it was actually a very strange situation with all of them. Most of them left the country at the time, and they were only online, but they were so busy with beginning their lives in other countries, and so unsupportive. And I received some comments like, you have to receive blood when it's adding some blood into your
blood
body.
Transfusion.
Transfusion, yeah. Blood transfusion in the first hours after birth, so you will not have these problems with breastfeeding. And I was like, okay. And we started to organize breastfeeding with donors' milks. I don't know how it was possible in that circumstances, but we find few milk mamas for our baby, and my husband every day, 2 times a day, under attacks and explosions, he visited these 3 women to just receive the milk they pumped, and we started to breastfeed my baby. And actually, I didn't have milk this time at all, because I understand that it was a few points why it's happened, because of the horrible situation with no safe, with no calm at all around us, and because of blood loss. And it was funny when we finally 2 weeks later find it, the breastfeeding consultant there in Vinnytsia, the name of the town we gave birth. She came, and the baby latched, and he was just breastfeeding. But when she left, everything stopped. And I understand that it was my state of mind, and state of tension, being totally alone on all of this situation and with no support. And we had to make all this horrible paperwork to have his birth certificate. And it was another point of story, because we have these protocols to receive birth certificate, you have to visit your OBGYN and you have to visit a pediatrician and you have to gather some forms from them after they evaluate you, your baby, and his placenta. You have to bring the placenta there. Yeah. And the second protocol is you doing the DNA test, and then you have to visit your family doctor, and he giving you some form after evaluation your baby and his placenta, and so on. And after that, you are able to receive a birth certificate, and everything should be done by the mother herself with the baby, with the placenta, and it was totally nightmare because to go home, as we decided to go home after receiving birth certificate, we had to arrange all this paperwork to receive it, and nobody at the town knew how to do it, and it was probably the first home birth ever at this town. And they were so terrifying as I called to one hospital to reach to the doctor. And she said, oh, no, you should call to other one. And I called to other one and said, oh, we already knew your last name and your city. Oh, no, we can't accept any request from you, so you have called to another one. And it was 6 hospitals there in this town, and they already knew about us, everything. And then when we came to final point, the president of this hospital, it was actually like a CEO in the company, the director, he called to police and social services, as it was impossible for them situation to give birth somewhere at home and being so weak after birth. And I remember OBGYN seeing my baby. He was pretty big. He was 2 kilo and 200 grams. And I don't know how to say it in your metric system. And she said, oh, you probably have tears. And I said, no. Somebody supported your vagina during the birth? No. And you're so lucky. You being in hospital, you would receive all the support, all the help from our team. And I said, no, never, ever. And I remember we even visited private clinic, and they made ultrasound to prove that I gave birth. And they had this ultrasound, and the doctor said, oh, I can't take this responsibility, and I can't to put in danger my clinic by giving you some forms to register your baby. Yeah, it was so insane. And I felt like I'm like in the movie with no one who understands what's going on and how to just give us the forms. We knew the numbers of forms. We have templates of these forms. And nobody from the doctor's side didn't feel any of it. Then we have a few stages of registration. And
did it eventually work?
Yeah, we took our birth certificate for the baby, and we just packed our stuff and went back to Kiev. And the next day, I received the call from police department and they said that we came to the address you mentioned. We had, as we traveled from Kiev to Vinnytsia, we had to register ourselves in this town during the war. And I had to give the address where we will be. And they said, we didn't find you. So where can we find you to understand what's going on with your birth and with your baby? And so on. And so I said, oh, luckily we left to Kiev and we are not in Vinnytsia anymore. They said, okay, in this case, we have no questions to you. It's all the stuff from the live part of Polish, and nothing happened with it here, so we stayed here at home.
And then you went home.
Yeah.
And how much longer did the war and the bombings last?
We still have.
Really?
Yeah. Last night.
Whoa.
And previous.
How close is it to you?
Actually, sometimes I see the lights of explosions and some houses are destroyed just in hundreds of meters away.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And you are staying there, why?
Because it's restricted for men to leave the country. And I'm not ready to separate my kids from
Totally.
But
so the men are not allowed to leave Ukraine?
Yeah. In age between 18 and 60.
But you could go live somewhere else?
As a woman, yeah.
He can't leave his town?
Yeah. He can't leave the country.
But what about living somewhere else in the country that has less bombings?
There are actually no less bombings.
Okay.
And we have all these military points all over around the towns, and they just militarized men who trying to cross the border of their town.
It's just easier to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, it's easier. Not safer, not
right.
But not easily actually. But
that's the wrong word. Yeah. It just doesn't sound like there's many options.
Yeah. Stay alone somewhere in the world without my husband, or we can try to travel and he will be took away to the war. Yeah.
Those are not good options.
Yeah. And I said that while I'm submitting my request for some training or some long programs, I'm just praying to stay alive until the end.
There's been bombings that have targeted your town?
Yeah. Last time it was 430 drones, actually bombs.
Oh my God.
And 300 came here to kill.
Because you're in the capital.
But it's not actually about the capital. Last night it was the small town at the west of the country, and it was more than 100 bombs attacked. Not even the capital of the region, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's our life, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Yeah, I feel complete. Maybe you wanted to ask something. I'm open to answer.
Just totally wild reality to be forced into adjusting to. I mean, I obviously wouldn't pretend to imagine.
Yeah, I'm here for 3 years plus with these circumstances, but I still can't adjust.
Right. How do you?
It's so wild to be in bombing at night and the next day just living our lives and the next night. And so, planning the walks with our kids by checking if it's okay. Is everything okay in the sky? Actually, we have no civil planes for all these 3 years. And if you hear the sounds of the plane, I remember with the first one, he just ran to the window and said, "Oh, the plane, look at the plane in the sky." And now when I hear these planes, I understand that it's nothing good.
So when you hear the planes, do you guys do anything? Do you go somewhere in particular, or do you just wait and see what happens?
Actually, we have no shelters next to us, and it's impossible to pack at night to kids to bring them somewhere where a lot of, actually, hundreds of people with their dogs, with their babies, with it's totally wild and crazy situation. And it feels more, let's say, comfortable maybe to stay at home, but we just stay at the room where we have no windows. And actually, we know that if it will happen that the windows are just explosion, we will not be injured by it, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So,
God. Well, I'm glad you're an MMI so that I can keep tabs on you.
for doing this work, it means a lot, really.
Mm. And thank you for sharing your story. All right, women, I hope you enjoyed the show today. You can support this podcast by donating to it through the link in the show notes below, and of course, leaving an awesome review on whatever platform you listen on. The more reviews, the more visibility the show gets. So let's spread the good word of Freebirth. Don't forget, you can watch all of my podcast interviews on YouTube and see the women as they tell their birth and power stories. And you will also find our viral Freebirth collection of epic raw birth videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed. We always have a lot going on at Freebirth Society, and you can find out about all of it at freebirthsociety.com. And I am at Freebirth Society on Instagram. Please opt into my newsletter below so that you don't miss a thing. We offer courses on free birth, sovereign birth work, as well as one-on-one coaching, women's retreats, so much. Our exclusive private vetted membership, The Lighthouse, is definitely something to check out if you are looking for a community of wise sisters to get guidance from and to meet in real life. Together we rise, sisters. We must speak our stories fully, claim our lives, and support one another. This is the Living Revolution, and I am so grateful to be in it with all of you. Till next time.